Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
President Bongbong Marcos took a swipe at the key policies of the Duterte administration while endorsing his senatorial slate, Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas. He said that none of his senatorial candidates are tainted by tokhang.
The new senatorial survey from OCTA Research is out, and the Tulfo brothers, Erwin and Ben, are on top of the list. We will discuss that in a few.
After imposing a maximum suggested retail price in rice, pork could be next. And the Agriculture Department is looking at profiteering as the reason for the price increase.
And after its investment in the National Grid Corporation, the Maharlika Investment Fund has entered another agreement.
The administration-backed Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas kicked off its campaign in Lawag, Ilocos Norte on Tuesday, February 11. Here's the report.
President Bongbong Marcos led the kick-off rally of Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas in Ilocos Norte, where he championed his administration's 12-member senatorial slate.
Di tulad ng iba, karampot lang ang kandidato. Dito po, buo kami. Hindi lamang buo sa numero, ngunit buo ang loob para ipaglaban ang kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino at ang buong Pilipinas. Kaya naman, nagtataka nga ako, parang yung mga iba na naging kandidato, nag-deliver lang yata ng suka, nabigyan na ng certificate of candidacy.
He also seemingly took a swipe against Duterte-backed senatorial candidates.
Wala sa kanila ang may bahid ng dugo dahil sa tokhang. Wala sa kanilang kasabwat sa pagbulsa ng sako-sakong pera, pinagsamantalaan ang krisis ng pandemya, pinabayaan ang ating mga kababayan na magkasakit at mamatay. Wala sa kanila ang mga pumapalakpak sa China at natutuwa pa kapag tayo ay binobomba ng tubig. Tayo ba ay papayag na babalik sa panahon gusto ng kung kailan gusto ng ating mga liderato maging probinsya tayo ng China? Babalik ba tayo sa nakaraan na ibinubugaw ang ating bayan bilang isang sugalan ng mga dayuhan?
The lineup includes Senators Pio Cayetano, Lito Lapid, Bong Revilla, and Francis Tolentino, along with former Senators Ping Lacson, Manny Pacquiao, Tito Soto, and former DILG Chief Benher Abalos. Also part of the slate are Mayor Abby Binay and Representatives Erwin Tulfo and Camille Villar. During the rally, Marcos proudly raised the hands of his senatorial candidates, including his sister, Senator Amy Marcos. The senator had previously declined to join the administration's senatorial slate. Before the proclamation rally, the coalition held a press conference. Senatorial candidate Erwin Tulfo stressed the importance of being united within the coalition.
Kung kailangan po hilain yung iba, we have to do that. Kailangan po itulak yung iba, pataas. We have to do that. It's a coalition. It's a force that we need to be united. I pray every night that all the 12 na binanggit na Pangulo ay makasama. Honestly, I pray to God.
Meanwhile, former Senate President Tito Soto acknowledged the President's endorsement is a significant boost to their campaign.
Mabigat ang endorsement ng Presidente. Andyan yung mga iba't ibang mga regional areas na makakatulong talaga eh. So talagang ang laki ng chance.
And
Alright.
first time ko narinig to si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos really maanghang magsalita against sa mga kalaban. And
Just think, parang sabi nila, he was in a fighting mood or mode.
Yeah, and what makes it notable is he spoke like that with his sister in tow near him, and he raised her hand, nagpataas ng kamay siya, parang it's an official way of acknowledging na okay, tinatanggap ko yung sinasabi ng kapatid ko. So moving forward, does this mean na ito na ang pinapanigan ni Senator Amy Marcos, ang kapatid niya? Is she going that route already in detaching from the Dutertes? It remains to be seen.
No, but you have to remember, before she made it to this campaign kick-off yesterday, there were several interviews of her, particularly doon sa radio station ni Michelle Cosem, saying na ayaw niya yung mga ganitong klaseng pangangampanya. Diba? Doon pa rin siya sa unity, diba, na sinasabi niya. Pero sabi niya, pupunta daw siya dito because nakakahiya naman daw hindi pumunta.
No, but,
and that's their
ang ugali kasi ni Senator Amy before, if may sinasabi yung kapatid niya o yung kabila, nagdidistansya siya from the event. But this time, nauna kasi yung speech ng presidente. Nauna yung speech na binabanatan yung kabila and yet nagpataas siya ng kamay. So let's see moving forward, but I think she has to realize that ang Marcos brand is a whole, is a northern brand It's a northern bloc brand. Hindi, you cannot detach from that brand.
Exactly. So
it's either mamimili ka, papani ka ba sa South with the Dutertes, or are you going to be part of the solid North na tinatawag?
Exactly. So like what I've said yesterday, this campaign kick-off rally by the administration slate, yung Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas, would definitely set the tone of their campaign, which it really happened kasi nakita naman natin na how President Bongbong Marcos, 'di ba, reiterated yung mga stance nila, 'di ba, like tsaka yung mga ginawa supposedly or allegedly ng nakaraang administrasyon. Nandoon yung sinabi niya na hindi kami nagkamal ng pera o nag-kickback during the COVID-19 pandemic, issue ng West Philippine Sea. He also mentioned about the Tokhang style.
How about before COVID pandemic?
Oh.
Anyone in their slate? Anyone?
Pero
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying lang, like what I've said yesterday also, inuna nila tong Ilocos Norte because ito yung baluarte nila. And this is also their critical base ng administration. And we all know naman that dito sa Ilocos Norte have delivered a huge number of votes sa kay Bongbong Marcos ng 2022 elections. And in fact, 87.7% yung voters turnout nung 2022 national elections.
They also delivered naman when he lost to Leni Robredo. They always deliver.
Yeah, that's why it's critical na dyan muna kami.
Ang pinaka-key talaga
yun
here.
Yung very strategic, kumbaga, yung ginawa
ang
nila.
Ang pinaka-key for all the parties for either the southern bloc and the northern bloc is NCR. Itong National Capital Region. Because the north, BBM. The South, Dutertes. Whoever can get NCR or Kamanava area, that will spell the difference. And before we move on, what's interesting to note sa lineup then, if you analyze it carefully, you will see si Lacson, former Senator Lacson, and si former Senate President Tito Soto. You have to remember, nung last presidential election, nagkabanggaan sila dito, and si Senator Lacson was speaking out about not indirectly, but about mga corrupt candidates na hindi nagbabayad ng mga dues or taxes nila. Ganon.
But it's good that you mentioned Senator Ping Lacson because there was a time daw, there's a moment in the campaign kick-off yesterday na siya na yung nagsasalita, parang medyo tumahimik yung crowd because he mentioned, sabi niya ganun, alam mo talagang, he mentioned something, no? Sabi niya, alam mo talaga yung loyalty ng mga taga Norte ay talagang hindi mo matatawanan. Something to that effect, hindi ko masabi yung exact words niya. At sabi niya, simula nang ma-oust si President Marcos Sr. ng EDSA People Power. So medyo parang yung mga tao, tahimik siya.
No, but
tahimik sila.
Kahit anong partido before we move on, si Senator Lacson, a lot of people like him because he's displayed a consistency sa advocacy niya on the budget. So, we'll see as the surveys come along.
Ano siya, political survivor, ika nga. Ang dami na niya pinagdaan.
May advocacy kasi siya. So people, even if they don't like his political party or his brand of politics, they like his advocacy, yung ipagtanggol ang budget. Parang if he's there, feeling natin lahat,
secured, safe
ang
yung
taxes
ating budget natin. Alright, meanwhile, Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino launch their campaign in the vote-rich province of Cavite. Pangilinan vowed to work on lowering the prices of rice and basic commodities. For Aquino, his advocacy is education reforms and free college admissions. Former Vice President Leni Robredo also showed up and endorsed the tandem and urged voters to bring them back to the Senate.
Kumbaga sa basketball, di ba? Second quarter na tayo. Medyo tinambakan tayo ng first quarter. So babawi tayo ng second quarter hanggang sa dulo, may papanalo na natin. No? So this is a continuation of our patuloy ng ating simulain ng gobyernong tapat.
Kami naman klaro na independent ang aming pagtakbo. May dalawang malaking grupo na nag-uumpugan ngayon at kami naman po ni Senator Kiko, klaro na ang pinapanigan namin yung taong bayan. Yung focus namin, in his case, yung pagkain, yung murang presyo, pagbaba ng presyo ng pagkain at sa akin naman, yung mga reforma sa edukasyon.
Let's move over to Senator Bato, Tokhang style. That's the type of campaign that re-electionist Senator Bato Dela Rosa vows to carry out. Dela Rosa said he would talk or knock and hangyo or plead during house-to-house visits. He said that yesterday on the first day of the campaign period for national posts. Recall that Dela Rosa was the chief implementer of former President Duterte's Oplan Tokhang drug war.
Supporters of Pastor Apollo Quiboloy staged a proclamation rally in Pasig City on the first day of the campaign period on Tuesday. In a video message, the detained pastor vowed to bring prosperity and goodwill to Filipinos if elected. PDP Laban Senatorial candidates, including Senator Bato Dela Rosa and lawyer Jimmy Bodoc, attended the event. Quiboloy is currently facing charges of qualified human trafficking as well as child and sexual abuse.
Nakita ko na kalooban ng Ama na ako'y papapasukin dito sa magulong mundo ng politika upang tulad ng sinabi ko, magbigay ng direksyon, magbigay ng kayusan at magbigay ng development sa bansang ito hanggang ito ay maging isang first world country.
We just talk about briefly lang yung styles, no? Kasi daming styles ngayon eh. Dati isa lang mga estilo ng mga candidates when they run. Ngayon you'd see very contrasting. Now let's talk about yung yung kanila Kiko Pangilinan and kay Bam Aquino.
Yes.
Ngayon, they're focused on the issues pero ang pinaka-comment ng mga tao sa kanila in PR, from the PR standpoint is they're using too much the traditional way of talking. Kumbaga yung traditional politician dialogue, trapo dialogue, yung... Di ko sinasabi trapo sila, but they're not connecting with the masses. Kasi let's face it, si Senator Pangilinan and si Senator Bam Aquino belong to the upper class or the elite families of political. So you should represent yourself as that. Now they're trying to use the word taong bayan, gano'n. Hindi na po uso kasi yung gano'n. You see other candidates effectively reaching out to the public by being themselves. So authenticity is the key.
Yes. So sinasabi nga nila dyan, it's pink wave all over again yesterday kasi nung lumabas nga daw si VP Lenny. So they're hoping or they're saying itong pink wave na dala ni Vice President o former Vice President Lenny Robredo will translate into votes para dito sa dalawa.
Pero mind you, nung presidential elections and even the vice presidential, there was several surveys that came out. Mataas ang conversion rate ni VP, former Vice President Lenny Robredo. What is the conversion rate? Meaning every single rally, she's one of the few candidates in history, Philippine history, na tumataas ang boto every time she connects with people. So other candidates, mini-measure nila. Ngayon na nakita niyo siya, boboto niyo siya. Mataas ang conversion niya. Even Bam Aquino, former Senator Bam Aquino, acknowledge that. Na tuwing may nakakausap si VP Lenny, nako-convert niya into a...
Napapersuade niya, kumbaga. Pero that's why, ang sinasabi nila, will this translate into votes for VP, for Kiko Pangilinan and Bam Aquino?
That's
kasi currently, this is before, yung mga survey before this kick-off rally, nakita naman natin dun sa survey, medyo hindi nga nakakaarangkada dun sa Magic 12 or Magic 15 itong dalawa na to.
I think so na for Kiko, former Senator Kiko Pangilinan, it can translate because he's associated with the pink wave. And you have to remember when he ran itong presidential elections as VP, he had around close to 10 million votes. If he can rally that same base na 10 million votes sa pink wave, konti na lang ang hahabulin niya para makapasok sa Magic 12. But si Bam Aquino kasi, he did not run sa last election. So
he was the campaign manager of those two.
But so he's not associated with pink wave.
Let's go to Senator Bato Dela Rosa and also yung mga PDP laban na bets. No? Although yan nga, isa yan sa mga sinabi ni PBBM yesterday, sila nagkukumahog, kumuha ng boto, kulang yung kanilang slate, kami kompleto. Ito yun sila kasi hindi na nila kinumpleto. Actually, in the past couple of years o since yung mga, kailan ba yun yung mga elections before, the past elections rather, nauuso na rin hindi na talaga kinokompleto yung 12 slates eh. Diba? Yung 8 diretso before.
Because
Tapos
puro,
hindi na eh. Hindi
puro,
na nila
guest, puro guest candidates.
Tapos may mga guest
eh.
candidates as yun nga independent.
But speaking of Bato's style, it might work if he campaigns sa southern areas. Pero if he uses the word Oplan Tokhang or Tokhang style of campaigning, it might not work here sa NCR kasi ang door-to-door tactic is talking to yung lower class voters. It does not sit well, the word Tokhang does not sit well with them because a lot of them ang nakaramdam ng violence from Oplan Tokhang ni former President Duterte because a lot of their kamag-anaks or mga kabarangay or mga kaibigan ang nakaranas ng Oplan Tokhang at may nawala sa buhay, may namatay, may nakidnap, diba? So baka he has to be careful if he uses it in the NCR area.
Lalo na pag mamaya clickbait dun sa mga headlines sa social media, di ba, tokhang o baka matokhang kami, yung mga gano'n. Pero going to Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, who is also running for senator, syempre hindi siya makaka-attend given naman na yun sa mga political rally because nasa jail siya ngayon, di ba? Pero yung nagpalabas siya ng video, according nga sa kanyang legal counsel, medyo it's going to be a challenge for him to campaign.
Pero may precedence ata to, di ba, si Trillanes?
Pero
was detained when he won.
So, sinasabi nila dito, yung video na to, pinaalam pa nila yan sa korte. So, every step that they're going to do para sa campaign, papaalam at aprubahan pa yung mga participation through videos, sabi nung kanyang lawyer. Yung isa rin sa mga pinaringgan ni PBBM kahapon, 'di ba? Yung wala daw kaso, hindi nang aabuso. Isa sa mga sinabi niya kahapon. So, iba-iba.
Tignan natin yung demeanor ni PBBM as the days go along. Kasi bumabanat na eh.
Oo, bumabanat na siya. Tapos, of course, going to Makabayan Block naman yesterday, we also, di ba, featured them or reported their style of campaigning yesterday as they kicked it off. Grassroots yung kanilang strategy naman. Nagdo-door-to-door sila, punta-punta sila kung saan-saan. Kasi, yun nga, hindi naman daw nila kasi kaya wala silang big machinery to do all of this.
Sabi nga nila, di ba,
campaign sorties.
If you read the campaign handbook, I forgot who wrote it. If you have the least amount of money, the best you can do is go the personal style. Okay. Si Ronald Reagan, when he was initially running at pinagtawanan siya sa US because artista, B-movie actor, ganun ginawa niya when he was starting out campaigning sa California area. He was talking to people house to house. May dalang kape, may dalang donuts.
So, we will see if that will translate also into votes. Nice. Kasi alam na natin yung Makabayan Block, nananalo sila sa Congress through party list, pero tingnan natin dito sa Senate kasi base naman sa survey, although sabi nga nila hindi naman gospel truth ang nasa survey, wala sila.
Kasi before we move on, kasi ang party list, you only need 800 to 150,000 votes to possibly secure a seat sa party list eh. Pero sa senator, you need 9, 10 to 12, 15 million.
Yes.
Mataas yun.
Ibang animal.
Ibang animal ang Senate, ang running for that. In the meantime, coming up, OCTA Research has released a new senatorial preference survey. Sino-sino kaya ang pasok sa Magic 12?
And independent candidate Ben Tulfo launches his campaign in Quezon City. He also gave his opinion on political dynasties. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Bilang Pilipino, bilang Pilipino.
Administration bets continue to dominate pre-election surveys. In the latest from OCTA, Tulfo brothers Erwin and Ben have a commanding lead. Senator Bongo took third spot, followed by former Senate President Tito Soto. Senator Bong Revilla ranked between 4th to 11th, statistically tied with Willie Revillame. Also within the same ranking are former Senator Ping Lacson and incumbent Pia Cayetano. Rounding out the top 12 were Manny Pacquiao, Amy Marcos, Lito Lapid, and Benhur Abalos. OCTA Research said they surveyed 1,200 voters across the nation from January 25 to 31 this year.
To help us make more sense of these survey numbers, we have with us
We have Professor Guido David of the OCTA Research Group joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Prof. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning, friends, and advance Happy Hearts Day.
Yes.
And good
Oh,
morning
that's
to our
right.
viewers and listeners also.
Oh, you're wearing
Naka-red
red.
na si Ann.
You wearing red ata, Prof, no?
Pares tayo. Okay, first off, Prof, what's the Survey Commission? Yan ang isa pa sa mga tinatanong natin. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, we conduct a quarterly non-commissioned surveys, so which means na we cover the cost of it, the group. And then this was conducted January 25 to 31, 2025, with 1,200 respondents nationwide. So the sampling error is plus minus 3%.
And based sa mga numbers na nakikita nyo, Prof, na and yung mga numbers that you had before, nung hindi pa official yung campaign period, ano yung mga sa tingin nyo is very notable in terms of movement sa candidates? Kasi I'm looking at it and I see Willie Revillame, who was not part of the top 12 initially, no?
Yeah, actually, you just mentioned yung significant movement, and that is si Willie Revillame. And he climbed up to all the way to number 6 from somewhere, maybe around outside the top 12 or maybe within the top 12. Kasi when I look at surveys, I usually look at different survey results. I don't just base it on one. Ganun din ginagawa nila sa US when they had the recent elections. So that was the significant movement. The rest are sort of still there. It's going to be a tight competitive race. A lot of names, especially the numbers 9 to 16, maybe even 17 or 18, pwede nating isama. Those are all, competitive and with having, fair chance of getting into the top 12. So it's going to be a tight race. We'll see what happens. It's still, we still have 3 months to go, so anything can still happen from now until then.
I'd like just to touch up a little on kay Will, no? Kasi notable movement yan eh. You see the other candidates kasi may presence sila either through billboards, they have presence through several ads. So Will has not been visible except, I guess, yung kanyang show na ini-air, no? So what do you think contributed to this rise in his numbers?
Well, obviously, it's fair to say na si Will is a personality who has a high level of awareness all over the country, and that has contributed. I'm not sure about social media campaigns or endorsements. And you're right. The rest of the top 12 are mostly notable personalities, mga former senators, yung iba incumbents. Actually, advantage pa nga yung mga ibang former. I mean, most of those in the top 5 hindi naman incumbent. I count, only a few, 2 or 3 incumbents in the top 5 usually, or top 6. And then a lot of them are new names. Of course, we have the Tulfo brothers still going strong, number 1 and 2. So that hasn't changed. Although, it's possible that could change parating na elections. The wild card here is obviously si Will. I mean, he could get into as high as, maybe top 3. It's possible. Then we also have an incumbent, Senator Bongo, and then si Tito Soto is also, always high in these polls. And then Bong Revilla among others.
Prof, the survey was done from January 25 to 31. This is before the impeachment complaint versus or against VP Sara. Sa tingin niyo po ba anong yung mga issues sa likod po nitong mga survey na ito na nangyari noong January to 25 to 31?
Well, we always have issues like yung prevailing one, of course, yung challenges natin about the economy, may issue din about the budget that was brought up. So may mga iba-ibang issues, may issues even sa mga on a smaller scale, may West Philippine Sea, yung POGO, these are issues. And then yung crime or law and order is always an issue sa mga kababayan natin. So these factor in. And, I'd like to think na yung mga kababayan natin will generally vote on issues and platforms rather than on just personalities and, kung sino yung sikat. Remember, kung may mga nakikinig dyan, we're voting for the future of the country. And these people will represent us, will make laws and make policies. So we want to vote those who can help us and who will help us and who have possibly a track record na may nagawa na sila for the public.
Pero Prof, do you think kung gagawa ulit ng survey anchoring on what happened nga ngayon sa House of Representatives, yung kanilang impeachment complaint, sa tingin nyo ba it will make a difference? Kasi sabi nga nila yung fate ni VP Sara will lie nga doon sa magiging conviction ng Senado.
Well, it will make a difference, obviously, just sa outcome of what will transpire sa June when they have this, hearing on the impeachment case. But what we're seeing, even this even with the news over the past months, yung top 12 comprises hindi naman puro admin candidates lang. There are a few independents, may mga admin candidates mostly, but there are also those who lean towards the Duterte family. And that's because when we look at the breakdown of the surveys, hindi siya consistent. So NCR will have a different top 12, pero Mindanao will have a different top 12. So some of them will be very strong in Mindanao, and then they will get some votes outside Mindanao, maybe Central Visayas, and then a few more votes balanced Luzon. And when they put them all together, then they can make the top 12. So iba-iba eh. So it's a different case. So yung impeachment, it's just one issue, and I don't think that will solely dictate kung anong voting ng mga kababayan natin, but that's just my opinion. So we'll see what happens when we have our newer survey or our next survey. Baka magbago nga yung results, and that could prove me wrong.
Prof, I'd like to touch up a little on one candidate also, si Senator Dela Rosa. In your numbers, medyo mababa siya dito consistently, pero in another survey from another firm, they had him move up higher. In fact, ang dami nga from the Duterte brand na tumaas sa ibang survey. How do you go about this in terms of where do you get your sample size so that yung mga kababayan natin at least will understand bakit dito mataas, bakit dito mababa?
Well, of course, yung sampling ng iba-ibang surveys, sometimes they can differ sa local. Some may have more sa Mindanao, some may have less. We have been consistent. And to be fair to Senator Dela Rosa, I mean, although number 16 siya sa survey, he's still within the top 12 statistically. So, kung titingnan natin yung number 10 to 16, dikit-dikit rin naman sila eh. So, any one of them could be in the could make it to the top 12. Even those outside the 16, I mean, I think si former Senator Kiko Pangilinan is number 17. He could still make it. I mean, we can't rule that out. I mean, even si Bam Aquino, who's also outside the top 16, may also, make it. So it depends kung ano. I mean, we're just starting the campaign period, so a lot of things can still change. I won't say na may guaranteed. Siguro, I mean, if they're in the top 6, siguro I would feel very good about their chances. Pero, we can't make guarantees in this.
Kumaga, Prof, before I move on to Angel now, kumaga you're telling me if you're within the top 6, more or less, yung movement dyan will be very minimal already. ang magiging critical dito is the 7 all the way going down to the 15. So in other words, if you're 7 to 13, pwedeng bumagsak ka pa to the 13th or 15th. So dapat hindi sila magpakampante.
Exactly, kasi well, I would go as far as 7 to 20 kasi
okay.
if we look at historical records, yung mga previous elections natin, sometimes may mga ibang mga number 10, 11, 12 pagdating ng elections nalalaglag sila. I mean, somehow, some of the others below them move up somehow. May mga kumaga sa horse race, may mga late surges pa na nangyayari.
Or mga
I
late
don't
bloomers.
yes. May mga dark horse, pero I don't expect many dark horses doon sa mga below the top 20, especially those who are getting mga less than 5%. It's very difficult na to mount a campaign with 3 months to go and bring your numbers up from 5% to 30%. Pero those, yun nga, within the top 20, anybody still has a fair chance.
Pero having said that, Prof, do you think na, kasi I remember nung sila Senator Raffy Tulfo yung kumakandidato alongside with Senator Robin Padilla, 'di ba, ang constant number 1 sa survey si Senator Tulfo, 'di ba? Pero pagdating ng eleksyon, nagulat din ang lahat na it's Senator Robin Hood Padilla yung nag-top 1. Diba? So do you think meron din ganun na magiging scenario this midterm elections?
It's very possible, and that's why na-mention
Sino nakikita mo na po pwedeng gumanon, biglang umarangkada?
Well, ang isang nakikita natin possible si Will, because even without campaigns, he's already, top 6 right now. So pwede pang umarangkada. So it's true, nobody predicted si Senator Robin Hood to get to number 1 sa previous elections. And may mga surprises pa because sometimes there may be, we know there are some religious organizations who vote, medyo, consistently and they will vote for certain candidates, and that could make the difference between number 1 and number 2. So that can be a factor. And then, yun nga, kung minsan may mga pasabog na lumalabas late sa certain candidates, that could also affect some of the, those in the top.
But but what about Senator Amy Marcos, Prof? Kasi right now, parang sabi nga nila, she's hanging on a limbo. Kasi hindi natin alam kung papasok ba siya o hindi. Depende pa rin yan dun sa mga mangyayari during the campaign. Pero ano sa tingin mo, Prof, yung po pwede niyang gawin para makapasok siya talaga sa Magic 12 consistently?
Well, based on what I'm hearing, anecdotally at least, a lot of people are confused about where her position is. And I think this has affected how she's yung positioning niya sa mga polls. And you're right, we heard some candidates have spent a significant amount of money sa pre-election campaigns. Even before now, up to last year pa lang yun, and they've already spent a significant amount of money. And in the case of Senator Amy Marcos, yun nga, I think there's some there's lack of clarity about sa position niya with regard to certain issues. I think personally, from how I see it, it's clear to me where she stands, but I think it's not clear to a lot of the public where she stands. And that's why, when we started polling noong 2023 for senators, she was actually top 5, and and she's no longer top 5. She's, like you said, hanging there. Maybe in the top 12 in some surveys, but there's other surveys na she's not. She's outside the top 12. So, yun nga. It's not clear kung where she stands on some issues. I think that has affected.
Prof, this morning I was reading about yung mga bailiwicks of certain candidates, and I'd like to understand further. Baka you could help me out. Sa North, it seems like the North has delivered consistently as a bloc. And even if you look at the numbers now, the North is continuing to deliver the ratings or the rankings for their candidates. I'm looking at the South. When you look at the South, Prof, parang the only part of the South that is solid sa Duterte brand is the Davao area. But it looks like that medyong bumababa ang Duterte brand sa South. Now, do you see the Northern Bloc eating up into this portion of the Mindanao area, Prof?
Well, yes, it's possible. I mean, and there are candidates who are also strong in Mindanao, like the Tulfos. We see that they're also strong in Mindanao, and there are also some other candidates, like of course, Sina Manny Pacquiao, who also strong in the South, and so these things, ano naman to, very sensitive to. So depending on the issues, what's happening. But so far, I think ano pa rin naman, solid pa rin naman yung support ni Senator Bongo at ni Senator Bato sa Mindanao.
I'd like to ask lang kasi, di ba, may North, may South, Tita Duterte sa South, si Marcos sa North, but there are certain groups who don't belong to any of those areas. That's, for example, yung progressive groups na kinabibilangan nila Franz Castro, no? Do you think, Makabayan, no? But do you think they have a slim chance of breaking into the Senate, maybe tapping into a little bit on both sides of the votes?
Well, nothing's impossible. Of course, we can't rule anything out. Yung polls surveys are not predictive naman. It's just meant to capture the current sentiment. And they can definitely do that. The runway's medyo short for them to get to recruit more voters. And I think they have to campaign hard in order to get to that end goal. And yun nga. But of course, people like Franz Castro, for example, I mean, they have to sway votes from the South, and I'm not sure how they are perceived from the South or from the North. So we probably need more data to get to that. Or I mean, I have an idea anecdotally of what I hear from people, yung mga perceptions sa kanila, and I think they have to swing and make some parang campaign lang naman yan, parang marketing lang naman yan, to convince people that they're the right people, persons for the job of senator, and that they can help the public. I mean, may nag-comment na hindi naman tayo masyadong issues-based, but I think the Filipinos can be issues-based, and so far, baka we're just focusing on some issues and not the others.
So, Prof, last na lang, very quickly. Lito Lapid. Di ba, yung mga nakakausap namin, hindi daw nila nararamdaman sa Senado or hindi rin nararamdaman masyado yung campaign, and yet nakakasama pa rin siya sa mga nanalo. Your thoughts on that po?
Well, obviously his
based on the numbers.
Yes, his exposure in the public eye helps a lot, kasi a lot of yung national elections are based on awareness. If you're a known personality, that helps. That's a big part. And these are some of the things that are not in the favor of people like Sina Franz Castro. Their awareness is not as high as people like Lito Lapid. And but again, I remind people to do their own research, pag-aralan nila yung mga candidates nila, and maybe listen to your program, News and Views, and you'll interview some of the candidates for sure, and or feature some of them, and para makilala rin ng mga kababayan natin. Some of these people baka hindi pa natin masyadong kilala, but they could actually serve the country well if they're put in the position to help the country and the government.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Guido David from OCTA Research Group. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning.
Senatorial candidate Ben Tulfo expressed his opposition to political dynasties. Tulfo pointed out that he and his brothers should not be considered part of a political dynasty. He explained that political dynasties usually involve families with a strong local base or bailiwick. Tulfo also stressed the need for anti-political dynasty law to establish a clear definition of it.
Dynastiya ba kami? Tatlo. Paano ka magkakaroon ng dynastiya? Wala kaming baluarte kung kami nasa Senado. National yan eh. Hindi mo pwedeng kontrol yung tao, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Bakit? Pagdating ba namin sa Senado, nagpapalitan kami ng Rafi Erwin tsaka si Ben?
So yeah, importante na i-define talaga yung political dynasties. Pero 'di ba sa Congress, meron naman nakaupo din sa Congress ngayon, 'di ba, yung anak ni Senator Rafi Tulfo doon.
Yeah.
Oo, 'di ba?
Pero I think what si Ben Tulfo is giving the technical definition of it. Kasi yung pinaka well, yung pinaka-core ng political dynasty bill is to prevent a family to gain control of an area wherein other people are not given the chance anymore to serve dahil nagsasalita, like si Mayor, nung naubusan ng term, bumagsak ng Vice Mayor, asawa niya naging Mayor.
Kasi anak naman.
Okay,
Tapos,
ito case in point. We have Davao City. Diba? Sino bang mayor ng Davao? Sino bang
Yung mga
vice mayor?
Duterte family.
Mas may congressman ka
that's
pa.
a clear definition of
Now,
ano,
that's a
political.
very clear definition of
political dynasty.
because other families cannot come in. And yung national, technically, si Ben Tulfo is right.
May point siya.
Yeah, but may point siya technically because sinasabi mong, okay, we cannot monopolize votes here because this is pag national, it's more on a personality-based campaign already eh. So, it's up to the general public to vote, di ba? Ito na pinaglalabanan mo. But, tama ka, we have to go to...
Yeah, oo. Kasi sa tagal ng
we have to
Constitution
define.
natin,
We have to define.
1987, until now, wala pa talagang, hindi umaarangkada yung push for anti-political dynasty bill natin. Nag-push noon si the late Senator Mayor Defensor Santiago, wala din naman nangyari, di ba? So, yun. And then, in that particular law, dapat talaga i-define kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng political dynasty.
Yeah, one could argue na, tama ka, Ben Tulfo, before you go, Ben Tulfo, na, sige, national position to, but one could also argue, tatlo kayo dito, you're taking out the votes of other people who can serve. Now, you could argue that, lagyan natin sa law, pag magkapatid kayo, hindi kayo pwede sabay-sabay.
We have to remember in the Senate ngayon, dalawang nakaupo doon na mag-anak, si Senator Cynthia Villar at saka si Senator Mark Villar.
Cayetano, Senator Pia Cayetano, si Senator...
Pia and Peter.
Sorry kasi bihira siya mag-attend ng session noon eh. Sige.
Alright, in other news, 3 people were arrested for posing as IT specialists to rig election results. Authorities said the suspects told politicians that they are connected with the COMELEC. They were identified as alias Bernard, Donnie, and Ronald, who were posing as employees of an IT company. The suspects offered their services to some local candidates in exchange for 90 million pesos. Wow. At may may mga naniniwala sa ganyan. Kaya, alam mo yung mga modus kasi inaayon sa panahon dahil since election ngayon. So, tungkol sa election yung mga modus. 90 million na. Ang parang pinakakwento dyan is posing nga sila IT experts at sinasabi nila na kaya nilang i-rig yung elections doon sa sistema ng COMELEC. Others would say na taga-COMELEC kami, kilala namin yung chairman, yung mga ganon.
Kakapal talaga na mukha ng mga ibang tao to think you can get away with things like this. Every single event na lang sa Pilipinas, may scammer na naglalabasan. Trabaho nga kayong maayos, nakakairita eh. Anyway, don't go away. We're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Yun na.
Now, the retail prices of onions and pork have increased over the past weeks. According to the DA's monitoring, prices of local red onions in some Metro Manila markets have soared to as much as 240 pesos per kilogram. The agency recently announced plans to import 4,000 metric tons of onions to help stabilize prices. However, onion farmers have voiced concerns, calling the move untimely. At the same time, the DA is studying the imposition of a maximum suggested retail price for pork. This comes amid reports that pork is being sold for 380 pesos to 420 pesos per kilogram, despite the farm gate price being only 240 pesos to 250 pesos per kilogram. Yan. Kasi ang hirap ng ang tawag dito pag yan ang pinag-uusapan, of course, kapag sinabi mo mag-i-import, although it will have definitely an effect, diba, para ma-mitigate yung prices dahil the law of supply and demand, ang tinitingnan nila dito yung mga local farmers natin na maapektuhan because of that.
So you have to remember, import to mitigate prices is just a short stop-gap policy
Measure,
measure. At the end of the day, pinag-usapan natin the last 2 decades, 3 decades, how do we stabilize prices? We have enough supply. How do we stabilize? Eliminate the middleman.
Tsaka yung isa pang sinasabi din ng ibang mga hog raisers, yung nagiging problema nila, yung until now, hindi pa rin bibigay sa kanila yung approved na swine flu vaccine para dun sa mga inaalagaan nilang hogs. Until daw merong ganun, at least ma-mitigate nila yung sakit, yung swine fever sa mga alaga nila. Kaya yung iba kasi namamati. Kasi until now, may mga ganun pa rin in different areas.
Right. Meanwhile, the Maharlika Investment Corporation and Thailand CP Group sets up a $1 billion agri-investment fund. MIC President and CEO Rafael Consing and CP Group Chairman Supakij Chiravanont signed the agreement on Monday. Consing said the partnership will lay the groundwork for a multi-sectoral investment initiative that will drive long-term economic growth. He added that this will also reinforce the Philippines' position as a premier investment destination. CP Group operates in more than 30 countries with businesses in agriculture, food production, and retail.
All right, the Metro Pacific Health Tech Corporation has teamed up with Ayala Group's Consulta MD to enhance healthcare services across the country. Now, as part of the agreement, Metro Pacific, which operates the MWell platform, will invest in Consulta MD. Despite this, both apps will continue to operate separately. The collaboration aims to make key healthcare services such as medical checkups more accessible to Filipinos.
It's more of an investment in Consulta MD so that we could work together to create a scale, in the teleconsult and the delivery of health services generally to our people. It's just the scale, and I think working with the Ayala Group would be good. A privilege working with them, and it just enlarges the scope of operations. We can probably serve more people as a consequence of this cooperation.
I think this is an opportunity to build scale, I guess, in the virtual healthcare space. We realize that maybe going at it alone doesn't make as much sense as coming together.
Alam mo, we have that ring yung MWell.
Yes, sa MWell.
What's nice about it sa MWell, the app will record a history. Kunyari, may heart problem ka, naka-record yung mga beats per minute mo, yung blood pressure mo, yung things like that. So in the future, kunyari magpakonsulta ka and you need data and you go to an affiliate sa may app niyan, titignan na lang ng doktor sa loob ng records mo.
Lesson time na yung di ba? Na
Plus hindi, nakasummarize na
may record
yun.
ka ba?
Pwede makita ng doktor, sabi niya in the last ganito. Nakikita niya yung more or less sleep patterns, yung heart rhythm. So nakikita na niya yun. So, di ba, it eliminates yung sometimes if may mga test na matagal ang resulta, may initial diagnosis, baka pwede mabigyan na. Oo.
Right. So this is a very interesting partnership, sabi nga nila, kasi it's going to be still separate app pa rin sila. Pero
separate
napakaganda nung kanilang partnership na mangyayari in the future. Kasi we all need to promote, 'di ba, healthy lifestyle sa atin, and especially yung mga Pilipino before pa hirap na hirap sila magpa-konsulta. Konsulta pa lang, 'di ba, nahihirapan na sila.
Actually, mataas ang medyo mortality rate from middle class all the way to the lower class. Not because sabihin mo na wala tayong access. May access naman. It's just that madaming natatakot na magpa-check up dahil ang iniisip finances, 'di ba? Parang mauubos pang tuition, mauubos ang pangbayad ng bills. Hindi na lang, wala naman ako nararamdaman 'di ba? But if you have better access through technology, baka naman ma-mitigate a certain, may price pa rin, pero ma-mitigate ang certain expenses, di ba? So it will make it more affordable and reachable across social classes. Magiging madali yun. Oo. Lalo na ngayon, ang daming Ako, kung magkaroon ng MSRP sa pork, magiging
high blood yung mga... Tapos mataas yung mga basic commodities natin, tubig,
high blood na lahat
kuryente, diba? Tapos yung issue natin sa bigas. So, kailangan talaga natin magpakonsulta.
Anyway, thank you pala sa lahat ng loyal viewers natin sa News and Views and the rest of you for your comments. I see them right here. Thank you for keeping engaged. Tuloy-tuloy po lang po yan, di ba? When we have time naman, we will acknowledge all of that. And for sticking it out, it's now a Wednesday, so we're on the hump day.
Yes.
Oo, di ba? Approaching malapit.
Valentine's.
Valentine. Traffic na naman yan sa Friday. Kayo ba? Di ba? Makapadala niyo comment later.
Where will you spend your Valentine's?
Anyway, sige. Before we let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote to start your day right. Do all the good you can for all the people you can in all the ways you can as long as you can. From Hillary Clinton. No excuses. Can.
Kaya mo yan.
Kaya mo yan.
Yes.
And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I am Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.